and welcome to Trail Grazers, where we focus on good food on the trail. The title of this video mentions that we will be at Bryce Canyon. Well, we were. This is Memorial Day. We've been home for about 3 days now. And while we were in Bryce, as you may know from previous videos, we had some difficulties. My bike had a terrible accident. It's now in the shop getting repaired. I had a terrible dizzy spell that lasted for the better part of 2 days, and then my brain was crumbly for the rest. I don't want anyone to worry about that. It has happened to me before, and my doctor and I are working on it, so it's nothing to be concerned about. And then, of course, to top it all off, we blew a tire on our trailer coming home. It was a wild trip. But you know, we had a great time. In spite of that, we were with John and Cindy. For this particular video, we shot the whole thing up there, but since I was kind of the camera person and my brain wasn't functioning, and I'm a novice at photography, all of those excuses that I'm lining up, it didn't turn out very well. I forgot a few things like, well, you know, turning on someone's mic, or pressing the record button. So we are recreating this video with some clips of the video that I took up there, interspersed so that you can kind of get the feel for it. But I wanted you to have more information about the food that we did on our tabletop Traeger. Jim is going to be doing the cooking. I'm going to be doing a lot of the photography today, and then interspersed with clips from up there. First up is breakfast, and this breakfast was delicious. John and Cindy just loved it. It was great. It's called, Traeger calls it their breakfast skillet. In the video clip that you'll see shortly, I call it the smoked breakfast sausage skillet. We will be posting the links to the recipes for these 3 meals that we're doing on the Traeger. Jim is about ready to pull the breakfast skillet off the Traeger to continue on with where the video clip left off, and then we'll bring it in the house and taste it, and then we will proceed. Jim is going to do the cooking. Here is the Traeger, and so Jim, take it away.
Okay, so we already have our our sausage mixed together, and what we need to do is add the potatoes, mix it up. When we get this, is just when we end up getting this all mixed up, I'll put in the egg and the cheese and the garlic, and we'll let it sit for about 45 minutes.
But it's not just sitting, it's smoking, right?
Well, it's smoking, it's cooking, you know, all those kinds of things.
This is called smoked sausage breakfast skillet.
Smoked sausage breakfast skillet, if I can say it. So the way I understand it, we're supposed to go ahead, and again, we've got the egg and the cheese and
cream.
And cream, heavy cream, and I'm supposed to just pour it right over the top. And spread it out some. And that ought to look real nice with the cheese melted on top and the egg. Okay, that's all there is to it. And we'll go for 45 minutes and see what happens. And I'll check in between just to make sure it's okay.
And it will taste smoky and delicious.
Smoky and delicious, yes.
We're good.
Okay, moment of truth, if you will. This is what it looks like. Cheese is nicely coagulated over the top, so is the egg. So we're going to go ahead and turn it off, let it cool down.
Hello, just in time. And here are John and Cindy.
Does it smell wonderful?
Yes, we love it when we're associated with a good smell.
Man, how fun is that?
Okay, we need to open the door.
Jim just brought this in and it is beautiful. Take a look here. This is almost exactly the way that it looked when we were up at Bryce. I'm just going to scatter some chives on the top. These are from our garden. I clipped them just a few minutes ago, just for a little garnish. And then this cuts kind of like a pizza. And one of the things I discovered was, because we had a couple of small pieces left over when we were at Bryce, is that this freezes beautifully and then reheats for breakfast. So I'm just going to take a little slice right here. You can see what a cross section looks like. The cross section right here, nicely browned on the top. And I'm just going to have a bite. It is fantastic. I think of all of the things that we have done on the Traeger so far, and we're still on our learning curve, this is one of my very favorites. And it would work for breakfast. It would also work for brunch. I am going to now cut this in pieces. We will have a little bit for our breakfast, and then I will freeze the rest, and we can take this easily on more of our trailer trips in the freezer in our trailer and just have a ready-made breakfast that is scrumptious. The smoky flavor permeates everything. The cheese is such a nice flavor, and the sausage just makes it. Lunch was turkey sliders. This is a Traeger recipe, only they call it chicken. I use turkey instead. This was a great meal. There was no sound. I forgot to plug in people's mics, so silly me. But I did a voiceover kind of explaining a few things on that one. We'll look at that. In this clip, Jim is taking the burgers off the Traeger, and oh my, they were done to perfection. And here we are sitting down for lunch with a wonderful spread. We have veggies and fruit bowls and homemade buns. John and Cindy are here with us and has dressed these are turkey sliders. Everyone has dressed their sliders the way they want. They're about to take a bite, and they received rave reviews all around the table. John gave us a thumbs up. I'm so glad that he was able to indicate that, since we have lost sound for this entire set of clips. This was a very successful cook on the Traeger, and we powered it once again with the Bluetti. For dinner up at Bryce, we used a recipe that we had not used before, and silly us, we found a person on YouTube who had done a fantastic looking pork tenderloin. And he cooked it to a much higher temperature than anyone else ever cooks theirs. And yet he really convinced us that if we did that, it would be succulent and juicy. The first few bites, you will see all of us, the taste was really good. So here we are sitting down. Jim has just carved the meat, and Cindy's getting a little bit of a zoot for her meat.
Beautiful.
And our plates have potatoes and a slaw, and we're ready to test the meat.
And we could smell it on our way here. We thought that's where we want to eat dinner, and we're the lucky ones.
Working magic. Oh, it's delicious.
But the texture of the meat, after we'd had more than just a couple of bites, was dry, and it was, what else would you say, Jim?
Dry.
Very dry.
Tough.
It was tough. And we are now reverting back to a recipe to share with you that we have used before and we know is really a good recipe. Jim is going to show you the whole process for this one.
So we have two 1.7 pound tenderloins. These are smaller than the ones we had up at Bryce. And I get to sprinkle them with the perfect rub.
Perfect pork rub.
Perfect pork rub.
This was the same rub that we used up at Bryce, wasn't it, Jim?
Yes, it was. This was the same rub that we used up at Bryce.
And the flavor of that meat, even though it turned out not as we had hoped, the flavor was really good. That's why you've chosen to do this same rub again.
Yes. What's next is I need to lay the bacon out, put one on and wrap it all up, put the bacon out again, put the other one on, wrap it all up. You're putting them back, putting them into the Traeger.
All right, we'll come back when you're ready for that.
Okay. Go ahead and do this one. Wrap it over this way, overlapping, overlapping again, overlapping, overlapping, and again overlapping. And I think we're ready. A little bit more here.
Is the Traeger up to temperature?
I have not checked. It should be. And it should be at 225. To go ahead and put our tenderloins in, and we'll let them go for an hour and a half. And with that, they should reach 130. And if they don't reach 130, we go another 10 to 15 minutes until the internal temperature is 130, and we'll bring you back then. You go ahead and rebase them, make sure they're okay.
At what temperature are they done?
135, excuse me, 145.
So that one is going to be done here pretty quick.
Going to be pretty quick. And we don't want to leave it in after that.
No, we don't.
We'll be out in just a little bit and check and kind of go from that point. Okay, we're going to go ahead and cut these. And this is the one that came out first, and then we'll cut the other one after a little while. I'm going to cut the end of it off. And then that looks pretty good.
Oh, it does.
And let's, not sure what happened to the bacon.
Well, I am sure it will get eaten, knowing.
Oh,
you.
I'm sure it will. So let's cut a small piece of this and see how it tastes. It tastes good. It's moist. It's smoky. I didn't get a piece of the bacon, but I'll get some of that in just a few moments.
No doubt.
But otherwise, it's really good. Would you like a piece?
Yes, I want a bite, please. Cut that in half, please. Oh my goodness, such a difference. Very, very moist. Very moist and delicious. You did a great job, honey.
Thank you. Nice and tender.
I feel really good about the success we have had with this pork tenderloin. After, well, it was a failure. After a failure, you get nervous. But this takes us right back to how we have done it before, and it's so juicy, so tender. It was really delicious. So this concludes our video on 3 meals in a Traeger. And I just want to share with you how easy it is to use the Traeger, especially for me, since I don't do the cooking. Jim does the cooking. But when we go off-grid, when we go camping, that little tabletop Traeger is a little bit heavy, but we manage it. We've got a cart, we put it in the back of the truck, and it handles just fine. We put it up on a cook table, as you saw at our camp, and then we run it with our Blue Eddy. And that can be recharged using our solar panels, but we didn't need to. All totaled, we ran the Traeger on the Bluetti for 6 hours and still had 40% of power left when we were finished. So that combination works really well for cooking off grid and for having this wonderful smoky taste for these meats. So thank you so much for joining us. We're sorry that the entire video wasn't shot up at Bryce Canyon, and I wish John and Cindy were here to taste this meat, because I think that they would agree that this is far better than the one that we served them up there. And we're sorry about that, but this one is great. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.